Democracy doesn't work like this. Democracy doesn't work such that 90% of the American public can support the pretty simple concept that you shouldn't get a gun if you're a criminal and have Congress ignore its will. Democracy just doesn't work like that. And so, as Senator Schumer said, this is really about making sure that the American public are engaged at the highest level, are making it absolutely clear that silence in the face of these mass murders, silence in the face of young men and women, predominantly young men, getting gunned down in the streets of our cities every day, isn't acceptable. And so we are hopeful that over the course of the next several weeks and months that Congress is going to hear loud and clear that our silence has effectively become an endorsement for these murders. I know that's hard to hear, but the reality is that when the nation's most esteemed deliberative body does absolutely nothing in the face of this slaughter, we don't even hold one single public hearing, then those whose minds are becoming unhinged start to think that those in charge have quietly endorsed it, because if they didn't, they'd be doing something about it. And so the outline that we have laid before our colleagues today is reasonable, common sense, exists side by side along with the protection of the Second Amendment, and we should adopt it as quickly as possible. But at the very least, we should get started on a conversation about how we can end our silence on this issue. I live every day with the memory of standing before the parents of Sandy Hook Elementary School on that morning in which 20 first graders were gunned down. I live every day with the thought of a young man disturbed in his mind, walking in with a military-style assault weapon, and in less than 5 minutes, killing every single little boy and girl that he shot. 20 little boys and girls shot in under 5 minutes, every single one of them dead, because of the power of that gun, because it was being loaded by cartridges of 30 bullets at a time. Something that no hunter needs in order to enjoy his sport or his pastime. I talked to my first grader this morning as he was heading off to school. And I told him that I was coming to talk about keeping guns out of the hands of criminals. And he looked at me with this vision of puzzlement.
Senators use 3 minutes.
I asked for 1 additional minute.
Without objection.
He couldn't understand why it wasn't already the law of the land. A 7-year-old had enough common sense to know that criminals shouldn't be able to own guns. And as he went off to his first grade classroom, not unlike the first grade classroom that those little boys and girls walked into in December of 2012, I was reminded of the fact that if little boys and girls in a quiet town in Connecticut or young men and women in a quiet town in Oregon are not safe, then my son is not safe either. And so that's why in the face of political opposition, which is real, we are coming together to say that enough is enough. It's time for us to understand that without a change in the law, the reality on the ground for those that are being affected by this plague, this epidemic of gun violence, will not end either. I yield the floor.